Do you ever experience times when you just feel spiritually empty? Like you want to believe, but your reservoir of faith is empty? If so, take heart. You're not alone. It's much more common than you might think. In fact, it is often this very experience that forms the basis of a period of real spiritual growth. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Saturday, October 29th, 2022. Today, a devotional from the archives. One of the most enigmatic statements in the Bible is the cry of a father pleading with Jesus to heal his son. His son was apparently possessed by a demon seemingly intent on destroying the boy. In desperation, the man had reached out to Jesus' disciples for them to cast out the demon, but they proved unable to do so. Finally, the man came to Jesus to plead his case to the master. Here's how the encounter proceeds. And they brought the boy to him. When the spirit saw him, immediately it convulsed the boy, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the father, "How long has this been happening to him?" And he said, "From childhood. It has often cast him into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you are able to do anything, have pity on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "If you are able, all things can be done for the one who believes." Immediately the father of the child cried out, "I believe, help my unbelief." I believe, help my unbelief. What are we to make of this? Many people today would say you either believe or you don't. It's a simple binary, this or that, not both and. But Scripture often refuses to let us dwell in the luxury of these binary choices. It lives in the confusing muck of real human life, a life where we experience periods of intense faith, punctuated by periods of doubt and questioning. One of you recently came to me with this very issue. A life filled with faith suddenly racked by doubt and uncertainty. The implicit underlying question was, am I in trouble for having doubts? What's wrong with me? The answer is, there's nothing wrong with you and you're not in trouble. Some people are fortunate enough to go through life without ever experiencing a crisis of faith, but many of us, including some of the greatest writers in the faith, have experienced periods of uncertainty about the faith. And that period of uncertainty to a devout Christian can feel like a real crisis. But what if periods of doubt and uncertainty form the basis of spiritual growth? I've often said that the opposite of faith isn't doubt, but indifference. Someone experiencing a crisis of faith is someone to whom faith matters. A crisis of one's faith simply means that one is primed for growth in the faith. In her wonderful book, Amazing Grace, A Vocabulary of Faith, Kathleen Norris writes of her return to the faith as an adult. She describes a time when, during an extended visit to a Benedictine monastery, she kept pestering the monks with her doubts and intellectual questions about the faith, only to find that they weren't all that concerned. In fact, they seemed to regard her doubts as much less important than whether she came to worship every day. "I was a bit disappointed," she writes. "I had thought that my doubts were spectacular obstacles to my faith and was confused but intrigued when an old monk blithely stated that doubt is merely the seed of faith, the sign that faith is alive and ready to grow." Norris goes on to note that believing, like writing, is more process than product and is not, strictly speaking, a goal-oriented activity. There is no time limit. I find this immensely helpful and comforting. Faith isn't a nice, neat package all tied up with a bow. It's a way of life. And like nearly everything in life, jobs, relationships, health, faith has its ups and downs, its ebbs and flows. It's why we call it a faith journey. Hence, we can say with the father of the demon-possessed boy at those times when we experience doubt and uncertainty, I believe. Help my unbelief. And now may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.